Chapter 20. We're getting close to the end, but welcome everybody to Gardens the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co-host and good friend, the Invisible Gardener, Andy Lopez. And we're going over his book. And we've only got 3 more chapters after this one, and then we'll be looking at doing other shows again. But Andy, this one is on natural rose control and rose care.
Yeah, and, natural rose control. You have to keep them in line. I know it's a tough one. Yeah.
Oh, I know, whips and chains, and you
have to put them in cages, all that stuff.
And Lily was come across a video the other day of if there's an apocalypse and you want to be at home and you want to protect your home, plant really, really good rose bushes under all your windows, the ones with the really long, oh my God,
stems,
prickly parts.
So people can't get through it.
Yeah, who's gonna want to rip their arms up trying to go through a rose bush into your window?
Blackberries. Nobody can go through a blackberry bush.
Yeah,
and blackberry, it's a vine. It'll cover up the whole house. You'll be like Alice in Wonderland. Hi, silly.
Thorns. That's the word. Thorns.
Thorns. Yeah, thorns. By the way, the book is available for free as an ebook. You just have to go up to my website, go to the forum thing, click on, get a newsletter, and then it'll say, you'll get the newsletter, click here to get your ebook, and you'll get your ebook for free. Plus, it depends on how I feel that day, because there's four other ebooks, which, by the way, we're going to get as a guest, Don Weaver. He's going to be coming on as a guest down the road. He wrote Remineralization book. And then we're going to get Daryl Cobb, who's my water man over here, my water master. So he's going to be talking about water, And speaking of water, one of the shows we're going to be doing down the road, I'm really excited about this because water is a big thing. And that's a thing that's on my mind really a lot, So we'll talk about towards the end what we're going to be doing down the road about water. So roses, I was with the Rose Society in Florida for many years. And I grew, voodoo. It was called voodoo. It was a burgundy, almost black rose, right? It was burgundy, really. It's called voodoo. And I won first place for many years in a row. They wouldn't let me play and enter my roses in there anymore. It was not fair. You can't enter your roses here. And I says, it's not my fault. These are organic. And you would think that they would be organic, but they weren't. They're using all kinds of chemicals and stuff to make them look well. And they say it's perfectly natural. I was going to say natural, but yeah, they say it's perfectly natural to spraying chemicals and to spray this and spray that. I'm going, what the heck? And so I just stuck to my guns in terms of making them grow healthy organically. And when you deal like with anything plant, people don't understand pH. How the soil pH really works. A tree can handle a little wider range pH. Vegetables have to have a certain pH, and roses need to have a certain pH. The pH to me is a critical factor for many reasons, but mainly the biology lives in that pH level. That's the range the biology lives. See, right? So if you have your pH is over here and your biology is over in this pH, you're not going to get the biology. It's not going to be there. You're going to have something different. So pH is 6.8, by the way. It's 6.7, 6.8, 6.9. You don't want to be in the neutral zone. You definitely don't want to be 7.1, 7.2. By 7.4, you don't have roses. You have something that looks really weird. It's all be weirded out. So pH is very important. You want to learn. Oh, I didn't write down refractometer. I wrote some points as to what I want to talk about. But pH is very important because that's how the biology they survive in that pH level. And in that
so Andy, if you're going for a 6.8, 6.9, or something like that, or how are you changing the pH in the soil around your roses to promote that?
Right. So first you do a soil test. There are several different good labs. We had them on as a guest one, Alluvian.
Alluvial Labs, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you to do the link for people. So one of my customers did them. It was very inexpensive. It was very useful. So you want to get the soil pH. You want to know what your pH is. This lady's level pH is 7.4. It's like, holy Casablanca. By the way,
Yeah, she's not going to have nice roses in that pH.
It translates to toxic because everything was super toxic, salts, all those things. That's a 7.4. When you get to 7.4, your soil is pretty much dead and it's all toxic. So the way to change the pH, and also when you make compost, like Layton's compost is on a 7.2 side. Okay?
Right.
So we can't just use it straight because it's too strong, but the pH is too high, so you have to mellow it down. So there are lots of different ways you can use things you can do. My favorite, and there are a bunch of different ways, but over here, see if you live in do you know what the normal pH of your soil is?
Not a clue. I have pH strips that I buy, but
Right.
I've never tested my soil pH.
Doesn't your pH strip tells you if it's acid or alkaline?
Oh yeah. It'll tell you, and you can go by the color, and it'll tell you.
So what is
approximately where?
I've
never done my soil, Andy. I was using those when I had my aquaponic system because I was testing the pH of my water. And that's again all about the biology of your pH is way off, right?
Yeah. So I learned pH the hard way because when I was doing gardening in my parents' home, the roses next door, 2 houses down, were always looking better than mine. And I'm going, what the heck's going on with these roses? So I had no idea about pH or go get a pH tester or any of that stuff. But I started using things that responded to the roses would respond to them. So I started using coffee right away because we drink a lot of
lowers
coffee.
Your pH.
Yeah, it's an acid, right? We drink a lot of coffee. We throw a lot of coffee away. So I started dumping coffee around the plants, turning them over and everything. And they started to almost recover almost immediately because the stuff I was using, the liquids I was using was highly biological. So it liked that pH level, right? And so it responded to that. Anything acid, that's why here in Malibu, I tell people like mulch. Mulch should be an acid mulch. So I have this mulch that's made from tree bark. It's made from peat moss. It's made from earthworm castings. All of them are slightly acid. So when you add that to your soil, it brings the pH down, which you want. You want a slightly acid, 6.8. There are lots of other things to do that, but mainly your mulch is your bed. Like Layton has these 5 different varieties of mulch. All of them are acid.
Okay.
None of them are alkaline mulch. As a matter of fact, I don't even know, because I haven't lived in other cities and other places that, the opposite. Your soil is acid. You want to bring it up because that's what you do. If you have acid soil is too acid, you want to bring it up to the 6.8 level, and so you want to have alkaline mulch, which I'm not really sure what that would be because I've never done it.
I don't know either. So let's talk about a companion plant because I know blueberries love a more acidic soil. So blueberries and roses, if you plant them in the same area, I think would do quite well, correct?
Right. Well, see, the blueberries they're acidic, so they like it more acid. They are 6.5.
Okay, even more so. So
So
you want to keep your roses, 20 feet away from your blueberries.
Yeah, because you have gardenias with 6.5, 6.6. The ones with their 6.8, you have 6.8, 6.9, 7.0. 7.0 is a little high because it's neutral, but we can work with that. But you have 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, right? 6.8. And 6.5 is a little on the low side, but for blueberries, gardenias, there's a whole bunch of other acid-loving plants.
Is there a book or something that tells you what the level is for, what acidity or
right? There are lots and lots of books available on the market now.
Okay.
Their gardening books are very basic. They'll tell you there's a whole list. As a matter of fact, the internet, you just talk to the AI, give me a pH chart. There's a pH chart which shows you basically what the plants and what pH level you want them to be at.
Okay. And that would be really good for people that want to do companion planting. You want to focus on that actually.
That is the idea, because if if you were to plant blueberries with the roses, and the roses were looking good, the blueberries would not be looking good.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You'd be surprised over here how many people have all these things all blended in. I'm going, that's not going to work. You know, azalea is like acid, you know, 6'5", 6'6". 6'6" is a magic number. For the biology, you have 6'5" to 6'9". It's where they're abundant. Ideally, it'd be 6'8". That's where you get the majority of the, you know, there's a wide range. As you go outside the range, you get less and less of the biology that you want. There's always biology in those ranges, you see, but and so you have to. It's a trick because when you have something acid and biology doesn't like it really super acid, you eventually have to get the right kind of biology that likes an acid environment.
Yeah,
to do that. See, right? Same thing when something's really alkaline, you want the right type of biology, and the alkaline for me is easier because I've been doing that almost all my life. Manure, all the manure is alkaline. So if I was getting animal manure using, I already have the biology that likes alkaline. You know, I just have to lower it down a little bit because most of the vegetables and plants and fruit trees and stuff like 6'9".
Yeah,
trees, they're oaks and pine trees. They like they're naturally acidic because the pine needles are acidic. They make the soil acidic. So I have lots of pine needles out here. Excellent. So the pH level out here in my little forest, where I have the tree forest, it's actually 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". And that's very different than everywhere else because we have clay soil, which is 7, 7.1, 7.2, right? Clay soil. So all this years and years of pine needles falling down, you have to, like right outside the house here, or there's a whole forest around here. When I was digging, there's mycelium like crazy everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really easy because the pine needle, and I take, when the wind blows all the pine needles out to the street, I collect them, I put them in the garden, give them to the worm. My worm bed is acidic. It's slightly acidic. The compost I put in there, if I put straight compost, it has to be balanced out with. So that's why the carbon is acidic, and if there's a carbon, what does it say? I want to read this.
What? Oh, yeah, I put it up. Then you. Okay, there we go. What nutrients are rose bushes lacking when they get rosette disease or pest? How does planting garlic with rose bushes benefit them?
Okay, so it's not that it's better to say what is the biology missing? What's missing in the biology that's allowing this disease? Remember, all diseases are soil-borne.
Mm-hmm.
And so it tells me right off the bat that your biology is not exactly there where we want it to be, because that would stop the rosetta disease. When you have the right biology, then the plant, rather than concentrating on a certain deficiency, which I can tell you what it is basically calcium, magnesium. Those are the two things that you need. And that so your pH is probably off, because that means that you're not getting the right biology. And then you also have to feed the biology the right thing. So instead of concentrating on calcium and magnesium, you want to give them a blend of something that's a blend of all these things. A lot of times when you buy organic fertilizers, it'll say magnesium, copper, all this. It'll give you a little list of what's on there. And that's why I use rock dust. And rock dust is a pH, is an alkaline pH. Rock dust is 7.2, 7.4, 7.5. Use too much rock dust, it makes it too alkaline. So you have to bring that down. That's why adding rock dust to manure is perfect, because the manure gobbles up the minerals and it brings the pH down. So I'm guessing, who said that anyway?
Serena.
All right, Serena, where's the joke? You have to tell me a joke and I'll answer it for you.
Well, so, in reality, thinking about that and having your vegetable garden, which wants that, 7 or above pH, and having your roses that want lower, should you be trying to making two compost piles, one that you're promoting the higher pH and one you're promoting a lower pH?
Well, the way you just make one compost, and you learn how to vary it according to what you're planting. So when you have your compost should be, It shouldn't be 7. It should be 6-9, maybe 7, 6-9, 6-8 is what I want the compost to be at, which is more of in a balanced environment. You can bring it up, you can bring it down. If the compost is too high, you have to work harder to bring it down to your level, and also if it's too high, it's not going to have the trace minerals that you want because the bacteria is not there. So that's why when you have 6-9, you have the compost has the biology that but you still got to give it the minerals. You still got to feed it the minerals. And
so so what you're saying is make a highly mineral dense compost, put it down, but then use a mulch layer that is going to suppress the higher pH, right?
So one of the things that works for these diseases, this is the roses are in particular very susceptible to, and one of the reasons why they have these are diseases are on the leaves. And basically what it is that city water kills the natural biology that you would find on the leaf. And they're very susceptible. So when you use, so that's why you tell that people, you hear, roses do not like overhead watering. They have no problem with rainwater. Rosebud have says pH of between 6.3 and 6.8. There you go.
Yeah. So Serena sent you a question or a joke.
Oh, what did the one herb say to another herb? Started making a mountain out of a molehill. I don't get that one.
What's the big deal? Or
big what's the big deal? Deal. I was thinking 6.8 myself, but 6.3 is a little bit on the acid side. Again, it depends where you live, because that will determine the type of roses you have, and the type of roses will like it on the acidic side in that part of the country, whereas over here the type of roses that you like will like it a little bit more on 6.4, 6.5, 6.8. 6.8 is a little on the high side, so you're 6.7, 6.5. You see what I mean? So it all has to do with you have to learn. So that's why you can only grow certain varieties in certain areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to buy roses from other parts of the world and bring them over here, and I found that that's not easy. I have to at least make the environment similar. Okay, when I was in Colorado, that's a very different environment than here in South California or in Florida. The rose varieties should be different because they're genetically bound to the type of biology that they can work with, and that biology has to be within a certain pH. Right. And so one of the things you can do for this, that's why one of the subjects I was going to talk about was foliar. Let's see what it says here. Foliar, because foliar is a way that you can. We understand that the biology in the roots in the soil is not entirely there functioning correctly, right? And that's going to take a little bit of work for you to get it down right. That's why you want to learn how to do it. You get, like you said, you have a pH tester. That little strips you can stick in the soil, a little device. You stick it and go, bing, look at your pH. Stick it in the soil, see where it goes. If it's higher than 6.9, you're in trouble. Lower than 6.3. So that's your problem, see? And you have to say, oh, what do I have to do to balance that out? But that takes a long time to get that to work, right? To get the pH down. In the interim, you want to control the problem. Here's where foliar application comes in. And so when I was young, I was told, well, what you do with that, you do copper. It's called Bordeaux, copper sulfate.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, it's a copper. It's a copper made from some type of copper that you spray. And and it's also sulfur, for example. So you mix the two together. And what are they? They are acidic.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee. What is this coffee? It's acidic.
Yeah.
So usually the pH is too high, and that's where you have this disease. Spraying with something that's acidic would normally knock them out. But I went one step further. You want to spray with the biology. Milk is alkaline. So milk is very interesting because it may be alkaline, but the biology it has works great for that. So what I do is I do coffee, cream, and sugar.
Okay.
That's what I would spray for this disease. Any diseases on roses, you want to be able to spray something. So what you really want to spray is something that's biology rich and minerally rich. And at the same time, be real clever what you spray because the biology will knock it out. You get the right kind of biology. That's why you want So coffee is acidic. That's a biology that's acidic, but rich in iron, calcium, magnesium, and the calcium comes from the milk. Because I remember the main thing that that the plants need is calcium in a form that they can process. That calcium is a building block that the biology uses to then control all the disease in the soil and in the plant. One of the things that's going on when they have this is it's probably too close to a lawn or something where sprinklers are getting them overhead because it kills the biology on the leaf. Right? And when you do that, guess who comes back first? The bad guys or the good guys?
The bad guys always come back first.
The bad guys.
They're stronger. Yeah.
They come right there because you just wiped out the good army, and the bad army moves right in, and that's your disease. So you want to use coffee, cream, and sugar. And I mean organic coffee, organic cream, organic sugar. And the sugar, to me, is not sugar. I use Granny Smith's molasses, organic Granny Smith's molasses. Very rich in iron. That's why you take it for yourself to get iron, but it has magnesium, a bunch of other trace minerals in there. And the coffee, if it's done organically, of course, it will have lots of other trace minerals as well. And the milk not only has the calcium, but it also has magnesium, so you have a bunch right there. You're still missing a few trace minerals. So there, what I do is the rock dust, because it's super alkaline, I don't really like to use it that much because you try to get something that's acidic and you add alkaline to it, it doesn't really work so well. So what I've learned to use, I know you had mentioned, did you talk about salts? Did you mention salt? No, maybe somebody else.
Not on this show so far, no.
Yeah, I think you were talking on the other one, maybe. But anyway, salt is rich in trace minerals. C90,
yes. Yeah.
C90, right? C90 has 90 trace minerals. So when you do coffee, cream, and sugar, you add a little teaspoon. Let's say you have a gallon of this mixture. You add a teaspoon of the C90 in there, okay? Because you don't want too salty. But that'll give it the missing trace minerals that you're missing. So you have a wide range of trace minerals to use, right? And then the other thing you could do that will work is, if your compost is really good, and I'm assuming that you know how to make compost like Leighton does. Nobody does it like him, but let's just say that you're good at making compost. You learn how to get all the blend of different animal manures in there, because that's what you want, a blend of different animal manure, different type of biology, all blended together, not just one animal. Like over here, they do a horse. I'm going, no, that's not going to work. Or they have, when I came to Malibu, or in Florida, I had llama, I had alpaca, I had rabbit, I had chicken, of course, horse, cow.
You had elephant over there. I mean, you were stealing from the zoo and the circus that was coming through too.
No, they hired me. They said, "Look, Lopez, we know you're into manure, and we heard you talk about." I was on the show and I said something. You know what the two most valuable manure are? Do you?
I don't know, but they said, "Come get our shit."
Right. It's the earthworm, the tiniest, and the elephant, the largest. And what do they have in common? Right? Their stomach, the way their stomach works. That's what the whole biodynamics thing was about, stomach. That's why the cow is so important. It's got what, 4 stomachs, right?
4 stomachs, yeah.
Right. So this is the stomach. That's where Will Steiner was talking. He could. It was like me. Stomach, right? And I got the message, But again, I learned to be a blend of all these different types of animal manure. So when you get that, and you learn how to make the compost, because the compost has to heat up to a certain degree. I think it's 212 degrees Fahrenheit to cook. It does this thing. And the cooking process is really the biology, eating carbon, eating, all these other kind of things, and converting it into a nutrient rich. And that nutrient is not going to be alkaline. It's going to be salicylic acid when it's cooked. Okay. And the cooking process is alkaline, but if you test it as you go, you're going to see the pH is good. That's how I know that when I made compost, I had a big thing I stick in there, pH, and the pH will start to drop after I turn it over. That it's ready. When the pH will start to go down, it means the biology has changed. That's the time I want it. And if you was to spray
you were using a pH meter instead of a thermometer?
Well, I use a thermometer to tell the temperature. I use the pH meter to tell me the pH of the manure, of the compost. See, because the pH will change once the compost is done. What does she say?
Well, earthworms will fit in my garden, but the elephant is entirely another matter, and I have to agree with that one.
I loved elephant manure. It was so cool. They had like Ringham Brother Barnum Bailey Circus had like 20 elephants, right? And so they all lined up. And they had these people who would shovel them, and they would drive a little car, shovel. By the time they got to the other end, the boss said, "Didn't I tell you to pick up this elephant manure?" And they turn around and go, "Oh, yeah." Right. And they would drop it right behind them. So I wasn't going to do that. So I said, "Well, you have this bridge that they go over. Why don't you just park the truck underneath and let them poop it right into the truck? I'm not going to be scooping the stuff. I just pull it in my vehicle." And the other thing about elephant manure, it hardens. Leave it alone for about. Yeah, it's like I had to get chainsaw. I cut out blocks. I cut out blocks. Literally, I would cut out blocks. That's my block. I call her Organa Gold because it was really cool because it was one of the richest. Well, good evening. Very interesting topic. Hi, what is this? It's bye guys, burr guys,
grow.
Oh, good. So I've been doing the compost thing for a long time, and you have to make the best compost in the world. It's literally when I was making compost, I was selling like 100 bags a week, 40-pound bags of this stuff, and I got it down to where it's just like now when I buy Layton stuff, it's magic. I was thinking about it the other day. Layton, is this going to work? And then she calls me back. Oh my God, you almost see what happened. I put this on the citrus, and then because the citrus has peach leaf curl, it had all these diseases, right? Which are sorbent. Yeah. Compost knocked it out. It doesn't make it go away. It's just say, okay, you guys go to sleep. Just hang out, relax. And literally, like within 2 weeks, it just showed up because I didn't feed it anything. I don't use fertilizers. I don't have to. Good rich compost is your fertilizer.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, big time. And it's also the same when I spraying. When I have 90 different trace minerals and I have all these different biology, that's a fertilizer. Because fertilizer is basically fertilizing, it's feeding your plants, right? You know what I mean? Right? So you don't need any other stuff. And so, the worm manure, so I have a worm farm here. I would love to have, but now I think they've passed the laws that the circus doesn't have elephants anymore, I think. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, let's tackle Serena's question here. Okay, it's on blackberries. What should pH be for blackberry bushes? And do you just mix peat moss and vermiculite, or do you add compost, and how much of each?
Blackberries like a very, very acid. You're lucky if it's like 6.0, they're in the 5s. Azalea gardenia blackberries are in the 5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8. That's acid. And peat moss, there's always I'm not a proponent of peat moss because peat moss comes from the peat bogs, and there's going to be less and less of them. We really don't want to do that. And so they have all kinds of things that you can use that are acidic. Cocoa, they have the stuff that's recompressed. You have water puffed up, right?
Yeah.
Coconut husks, all kinds of things you can use that will provide that for you. Especially so I buy this stuff. It's called it's actually called a mulch. I looked at it. It's got aged redwood, right?
Okay.
Has worm castings in it. Has bat guano in it, and a few other things that are totally organic, but it's an acid. Mm-hmm. The aged wood alone is magical. I always felt when I was in the forest and I see a tree down, I would go and dig out all the internal stuff, like take all its guts out, and it's amazing. You can see that the worms are already starting to move into it, and so that's what I would use in my process. So I don't know exactly where you live, but I would go with whatever is naturally acid. That's what you want to add to it. Like for example, here I was talking about the pine needles, acid.
Yeah. Right. Now I do want to point something out, Andy, and I've talked to a specialist about this, and this is what he told me was your pine needles, when it sits on the top surface of the ground, it's acidic, but once it mulches down and moves into the ground, it is no longer classed as acidic. It is back to a neutral pH.
That's right. That's right. And it's really cool the way that happens, because when you're actually talking about soil biology, they function within a slightly acidic environment rather than alkaline.
Yeah,
slightly acidic, and so the pH of the pine needles comes down. The same thing with eucalyptus. You name any tree, if they form it's acidic until they start breaking up. But when the biology starts to break it down, it'll bring it in closer to a more neutral pH, because the biology doesn't like to go up too high, doesn't want to go too low. It converts it. The poop of what the biology changes it into is normally slightly alkaline, maybe even normal, maybe a neutral, pH. But usually it would be like about 7.1, 7.2 at the highest, because remember, it goes from 6.8 to 7.2 for soil biology. So again, it depends where you live at. Like over here, California clay is very alkaline. The trees are pine needles are acid, so they balance out.
Now, I do want to point something out as well. Is in your root zone in the rhizosphere, which is the right along your root zone.
Yeah.
The biology that exists there literally can turn the pH up and down in a very specific area.
Yeah.
But this is because roses and the eucalyptus, etc., is more pH acidic loving.
Yeah.
It'll promote more biology that lives in that range in the greater area around the plant and the root zone, which is going to help benefit. And then the biology in that rhizosphere doesn't have to work as hard to change the pH to support the biology that brings the nutrients that plant loves.
You just have to have the basic foundation there to be able to happen. Because if your soil is so alkaline, so acid, the biology just can't do it. But if you make it so that all it needs is the biology will mellow everything out. But if you have it, that's what happens when soil becomes toxic. When you have all these chemical salts, the biology can't. It takes a long time. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. In nature, take away the human beings, the biology will eventually convert it to what it's supposed to be. Because the toxins stop after a while. But you keep throwing toxic in it, city water, it's a chemical, this chemical, that chemical, that's going to really upset the pH level, which takes a long time for the biology to heal the soil, to heal that up. You see what I mean?
Well, the more the city water and the chemicals we're spraying on, the weaker and weaker and the weaker the biology gets that exists in the soil until it's dead. And that's where you have to replenish it, and most people don't understand that. Where most city dwellers, etc., never even consider that, and that's where you got to call Andy and say, hey, Andy, come spray my plants in my yard because it's dying. But let's go to this next.
I learned really fast in my career, because I would go, well, what's wrong with this tree is in the root level. And that's going to take a while to heal. In the interim, that tree needs to be fed. And we need to be able to remember long-term and short-term solutions. Long-term is, okay, what do I need to do to get the soil, the biology in shape? It's going to take time. People don't understand. This is, well, come and do a treatment that solves the problem. I go, no. You've been here 15 years. 15 years you've been dumping chemicals. 15 years you've been taking away the weeds. 15 years you've been dumping it with city water junk. And you expect it within a week, a month to change? No, it's not going to happen.
Well, and are they changing their watering? Are they stopping their city water, which is killing? And then you're doing a triage, Andy, because you're doing a foliar spray to keep the plant alive and start it in the process of healing. But if they're still doing the bad things to the soil, like the city water, not having the compost, not having mulch, it's never going to be able to heal properly.
So I started doing this in 1970. My idea was, okay, I'm going to educate. You're going to do the work. So I would tell them, get city, get a water filter for your property, get the proper compost. I would tell them that, and they shake hands, and they would not do it. Just this year, I came up with an agreement. I don't want to call it a contract. But here it says, this is what you will do. And as a matter of fact, I will do these things for you. I'm going to buy the compost. I'm going to apply the mulch. I'm going to do it. You have to buy a water filter. And if you don't buy a water filter, you're signing this form right here saying, I understand if I don't get a water filter, I will never solve this problem. Right?
Yeah.
And one lady spent $18,000 for her water filter. We had, I would like to, I'm going to have the water guy come on as a guest. Okay. So he does water filter and stuff, but there's a company that it's $1,900 for a water filter. I talked to the lady. She said, you have water filter in the house? Oh yeah, we take a shower and water filter, and we have water filter for drinking. Well, why don't you water filter the water for your property, for your soil? Duh, right? So I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to tell, and they go on and buy the weirdest compost. I bought this. I go, what is that? Anything in the store that's sold in a plastic bag is not alive. Duh, right?
Yeah.
Not that hard to figure out. If it's been sitting there for a year and in a plastic bag, what? It's not alive. It looks good. It may look good, but it's not. You need to. So when people buy Layton's compost or they use my liquids because I sell it, you have to use it between 24 and 48 hours. 48 hours tops.
Yeah, for your liquid.
I give you an example. I taught this person to make compost for me, right? So my customer. So he makes the compost. He makes a pile of bags, like 20 or 30 bags of compost in the sun, baking. And I swear I hear the little, help us. Oh my God. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, but you know, he just killed 3/4 of the biology, which is supposed to come from your compost, right? And it's like, I don't use him anymore because he did not get the fact that he's in the biology business. And here they are sitting in the sun, baking, and right? And so I got as I turned 120 now. So as I get old, I just don't take BS from anybody anymore. And my customers have to understand, okay, so you're a druggie. and you're going to have to stop with all these drugs because I am not going to stand it anymore. And then they have that BALLS to tell me, I want it to be really super lush. It's not really working. I say, get a water filter, fix it, get the real stuff. Don't go. So a gardener went and bought this junk, put it down, and I'm looking at it. I said, that's not what I told you to get. Well, it's just as good. No, it's not. You know what I mean? So they're constantly fighting for, let's keep doing it this way, but I want it to be this way. You know, it's so our job here is very, very difficult because it's like, maybe if I get carried away, we'll get shut down again. But it's just like food and people, right? People and food, right? They want to keep eating I saw TV just today. Eat all you want to. Eat whatever you want to. Take this pill. And I go, that's how do it, right? So I don't know what they're saying. Should we look at some of these things? I want to make sure I answer people's questions. That's my whole game.
Well, here. Lily and Serena have been going back about holds on I think her hostas, I think it was, and I think they figured out what's going on. So I don't think we need to address that.
Whenever a bug is making holes in your plant, if you had a refractometer, you will see that refractometer level is really low. It goes back down to the trace minerals. It's not because of the bug. The bug is saying, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's food for me. Whenever it's food for me, it means that it's not going to repel me. You know what I mean? They chew on this. This is no good. And why? Because it has complex carbohydrates as opposed to simple carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates mean food. Mm-hmm. See, and that's what Mother Nature says. When the simple carbohydrates means it's on its way out, your job is to take it, recycle it, poo-poo it, whatever it takes. Complex carbohydrate means that you're still strong, you're healthy, we're not gonna touch it. That's the key. Learn how to use a refractometer. I stopped using it because it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. The biology is not functioning. You got to help that. In the interim, you got to feed it. The refractometer is just a tool. You learn to use the tool. It tells you what Brix level. You know what Brix level roses should be?
No idea.
28.
Okay.
28. That's what you want. At 28, nothing will touch it. No bug will come near it. No disease will come near it. It'll stay like that. It'll you know what I mean? and it blooms like crazy. And there are some things you need to learn when dealing with roses, just like with fruit trees, because if you prune it wrong, you're not going to get anything. And you have to cut them back every year so that they produce new growth. The blossoms are on the new growth. If you have old branches sticking out there, it's just not going to do anything.
Now, what do you use your rose hips? Do you collect rose hips and make rose hip tea or anything, Andy?
I chew on those things.
Okay.
I chew on it. And yeah, you can make so when the roses produce, you don't click them and throw them away. You pick the bud, take the leaves off, make a tea from it. You'd be surprised. Rose hip tea, everybody knows that.
Yeah, I used to drink rose hip tea. We used to go out as a kid and harvest it every fall.
High in vitamin C, also high in about 80 different trace minerals, because that's what you're doing. You're providing all these trace minerals. If you do it right, all your plants will have, especially if you can eat it, a lot of edible ones, because they're normally edible. That means that they're rich in all these trace minerals. Lots of spinach. Spinach is rich in like 80 different trace minerals, 90 trace minerals. It's hard to get the more exotic trace minerals from you put in plants. That's why you do C90, even though there's 6 more missing. C90 means 90 trace minerals. You're going to have. So where do you think they get the 6 trace minerals from? The biology makes them.
Exactly. Here's another joke we got to throw up here. Which flower has resurrected? A rose. It arose from the dead.
I don't like that one. I don't like that one. But yeah, it's good. One of the things that I learned early on in my youth, especially with roses, because it's an easy one to deal with. So whenever you have, and I wasn't really hip to the disease factor, I learned how to prune the roses and stuff like that. But and it's the same thing with fruit trees too. When I think about it, like the citrus, when the plant is diseased, the leaf is diseased. When you clip it, you don't let it fall back to the ground, right?
Okay, you take it and compost it.
You know why, right?
Well, you're diseasing your soil.
Right, you recycle it back into the soil again, because it comes from the soil. So one of the things when you're pruning it, you cut it, and if you know how to make compost properly, that means it has to heat up. If your compost does not heat up, you're going to be passing the disease right back again. Same thing with any fungus among us, things happen with tomatoes, all kinds of diseases. If your compost does not heat up, it won't kill those funguses. It'll come right back again.
Now, Andy, I don't know if you watched our last Monday show. We had on the Biochar Coalition, the president there, and they were talking about composting, where they're putting biochar on the very bottom, in the middle, and on the top, and so that when it rained, it was going through all of that different biochar, and it was collecting different areas of the pile for the biology in the biochar. But have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. So that's one of those things. If you have the opportunity of planting something, that's what you do. You always want to put some biochar at the very bottom layer. Unfortunately, when you're working with roses, you can't dig the rose up and put the biochar down, put the rose back down again. I would do that in extreme cases, but then I would also just get new roses, put them in there. So whenever you're planting your fruit trees or trees like that, that's the opportunity to do it. I just finished planting a whole bunch of palm trees. So we had, I'm not sure about just definitely we'll make a layer, and they're the little chunky kinds. They're a little bit bigger than the dust. The dust can layer up here. The chunky kind was the very bottom. Then the palms came, and then the soil mixture came and put it. And that's what we're doing. I was adding my own little things to it, which was the biochar I get from Leighton, but it's a mixture. That he has a really cool mixture. He also has a really cool, like I used to go get 12 different kinds of rock dust. I guess he must have read me somewhere, but that's what he has. It's a blend of 12 different kinds of rock dust along with the biochar. There's your trace minerals. So it usually and then the very top layer, when you before you do the mulch, because you'll constantly be adding things to it. So one of the things I learned to mix together is coffee grinds and biochar.
Yeah.
Right? Mix them together, put that layer down top, and then mulch it over with another acid mulch. that biochar will seep down in there, and the coffee will seep down in there, and they're already attacking the biology, already attacking the biochar in terms of living in there and providing a tool. That's what I use. So when I'm going to be talking about Ola, which is an ancient way of watering. So I buy the fine biochar.
Yeah, no, Andy, don't go too far in depth because we wanted to do a whole show on that. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So anyway, I use biochar in that mixture. I use a.
Yeah.
So there are a couple other things I've learned to use now. I use flour, rice, wheat flour, rice flour, and corn flour. I'll talk about those later in that show because they're very different biology, right? Fuel, different types of fuels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the biochar is something that, especially in the ancient times, is always on a lower level where the root systems are down there. If you get to work on, then you build up. Very rarely you can go down and dig down in there. So you want to, if you have on top, you want to start adding it down as part of a regular blend. I add biochar all the time to my worm compost setup. Okay. It quadruples the biology when it comes out of the liquid. Yeah. Right. When the liquid comes out. And I'm going to talk to you guys down the road about water and magnetism.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize this because that's it. And I do that with my spraying rig. And I'm actually going to converting my garden so the hoses have the magnets, so the water flows through the magnets. So it changes the structure of water, which allows them to work more with the minerals and the biology. The magnetism does not kill biology.
Yeah.
And you think about
talking about something like that. I remember years ago they were selling a contraption you would hook up around the fuel line of your vehicle.
Yeah.
To make it so the fuel went through better and was more compressed, and it lowered the amount of fuel that you would have to use in your vehicle. And I thought that was mind blowing.
I think the oil company bought it out and it disappeared.
Oh yeah, because it worked.
right.
Go figure, eh?
Yeah. So let's see. Is any questions out there? Because I'm really good at answering questions. That's why I like to it. My favorite thing is I tell people I don't do marital problems. That's about it.
You do plant problems. So you said you had a list there. You had a list, and you had a list of topics you wanted to touch on. Have you covered all those?
Yes, okay, I did. Cool. So I talked a little bit about water, how important it is to have filtered water. Okay, and that's why water. If the roses near a lawn and that city water spraying it all the time, it destroys the biology on the leaves. And that's where the bad biology. There's no bad biology, but I'm talking about diseases.
Yeah,
and pest will attack. So you want to get the filter system. You want to keep the water down. The compost is very important that you do the proper compost for them. You have to give them compost. You don't give roses compost, you're not going to have beautiful roses. You're going to be struggling all the time because there's no way. Even if you had organic, people call me up all the time. I have organic fertilizer. I put it does nothing. No, you need the biology to work with the organic fertilizer. What? Right? No biology. Organic fertilizer doesn't work that way. It needs the biology to make it happen. Right?
We got another one for you, Giggle at. Which flowers are always kissing? Tulips.
Okay, and I covered pruning. Proper pruning is very important. In terms of they winterize just before the winter comes on. You prune it, and then you have new shoots to come up. You learn how to prune where they have 5 leaves. That's where you normally would prune. That will grow.
And that's your roses. You're pruning, and now like we don't generally prune in the fall. We generally prune in the spring.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask you a question.
I didn't do it.
You're using coffee grounds. So if you take you got a coffee maker, you pull out the grounds. Can you just spread some grounds around your base of your roses? Or
here's this thing. Okay, so I used to say when I was young, make a second batch of coffee for the plants in the soil, right? But then I realized, no, I would buy the coffee specifically for my plants. because
I'm not talking foliar spraying. I'm talking using up those grounds.
I'm talking in the ground, right? In the ground.
Okay.
I wanted to get the full everything, the caffeine, everything in the coffee that you would get, and that makes a big difference. And that makes a big difference because it's a lot more. You can tell the difference, right? There's a difference, right? The difference is put that in the ground and more effective. Coffee and snails don't do well together. Coffee and snails and coffee and all kinds of insects do not do well together because of the caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to a place that something's being eaten up, one of the immediate effects is to put coffee down. Stop them from the snails. It kills. If you have a billion snails, put some coffee. Normally it's a biology, but you want to do something immediate. It takes a while for a biology to kick in. You want to do something, give it organic coffee and put it into the ground. That will immediately kill the ones that want to crawl around. It stops them from laying their eggs. It brings the soil pH down almost really, really super fast because it was 7.4. It will bring it down to 6.8, 6.9 like that, literally.
Yeah.
And you can tell it was really cool because you have a refractometer. You do before and after. Within a week, you're going to go, what happened here, right? Right? That's what I learned.
Lily wants to know, I wonder if my roses would get addicted to the cafe.
Yes, they would. It's not the roses that get addicted. The roses get addicted to being happy, to being healthy.
Okay.
They like that. See, they like that. And so the caffeine is another reason why I like giving them. I buy it specifically for the worms love the coffee. These little guys, we need more energy to be drilling. Give me coffee. Yeah. Right? Exactly. Right? You're not going to see. And with the snails, you got a snail like, hey, man, what's happening? And they get some coffee. Oh, my God. Oh, this is right?
My slime tail's a racetrack, man.
They're not. But the worms, you never see a worm like, oh, man, that's just going to hang out. No, they're like drilling and rolling. They love the caffeine. This is like energy for them. And not only that, but all kinds of other creatures like that too. See? So that's why I do that. I feed it. And of course, if you was to spray it, you get the biology on the leaves. You have this acidic environment. You can do coffee by itself if you want to. See? But the key there's always a key. And that would be the milk. The biology in the milk will complement the coffee really, really nice. And then you have the molasses. I say coffee, cream, and sugar. So it could be organic white sugar, but the molasses is it. The molasses is like iron and rich and all this kind of stuff. It's a medicine in a lot of places, right? And it comes from the tree, right? It's the biology of that tree. And so you put those things together, it'll combat any disease it comes in contact with because you can use it. Normally you have roses, you have fruit trees, right? Those that have the diseases. You have other plants like hibiscus, whiteflies. Forget it. But it doesn't deal with the cause. Okay, it helps a little bit when you do foliar application. What you're doing is you're saying, okay, it's like triage. The doctor gives you something. He'll give you some medicine, some liquid in your body that your body needs. Right? It's not a chemical. They give you something, some sugar form, whatever it is. Right? Your body go, oh, yeah, I need that. Right? But you're eventually going to have your stomach eat.
Yes.
So
we got a couple of questions, Andy.
Okay,
as well.
Another question. What?
And this is Rah. Welcome to the show. I've never seen you on before, but your question is: I planted 3 roses in Phoenix, Arizona in October. Tomorrow it's going to be 90 degrees. Any suggestions for this this season?
Protect the soil. Protect the soil.
Mulch.
I don't know what your soil's like. I know Phoenix is a desert, so I'm assuming you amended the soil really well. I'm assuming you have compost in there. I'm assuming you have organic matter there. If you don't, it's going to dry right up. Roses do not grow in the desert very well. Okay, there's no way you can protect the plant from getting burned up. If it gets burned up, leave it. You want it to survive. The only way it's going to survive is the core of the plant survives, if the soil survives. So in a desert environment, you want to, most like case, you want the water below ground, for starters. There's a book you want to read called Lazy Man's Guide to Gardening. He was started in the desert. People come by, what are you doing? The water lines below ground. He would buy a rug, he would do cardboard, whatever it was, layered, all hidden there. And so that's what you want to do. You want to get a source of mulch, whether you have a shredder or whatever it is, thick layer of mulch. Like in wintertime, you know how you protect the roses in the wintertime, right? What do?
You mulch. Well, actually, most people put bags and tarps or burlap around them.
Yeah. So all kinds of stuff to protect it from the cold. So you want to do the
Yeah.
same thing with the. So I'm thinking that they're fairly new. They don't really have it together. They're going to get burnt, right? So if you only have, did he say 3 roses? Yeah, 3 roses. So I would literally cover them with a light mulching during that time period and water it, because they do need the light and everything. You can't, they can't be covered all the time, because they'll just die because they need the light. But if you protect the soil, protect a certain amount of the trunk, so that and so you leave a little bit growing because it does need the light, and make sure you water it. You do not want to water it in the middle of the day. You water it at night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's organic, because if you use any kind of chemicals, it will just burn right up, and that will protect it. But eventually, when the temperature goes away, you want to give it light aeration again. You can also build something around it. A little greenhouse will work. You just build something right around it that will protect it, like a light shade cloth. But again, you have to have the mulch in there. You have to, because you let it dry, it will dry out on you if you don't watch it. So you mulch it really well, water it so that at night, so it has the water in there, and then build it like a little greenhouse around it, a shade cloth, 40% shade, 50% shade. So it still lets the light in, and you have a nice little environment where it's not going to die. You just leave it there by itself, it's going to die on you.
So do that shading in the afternoon, guys, but work up your soil, put in, a good amount of compost, a good amount of coffee grounds, etc. Make it lofty, put your watering underneath where you're going to have your mulch layers so that the water stays underneath. And yeah, you can move that shade cloth around. People do it all the time, so that you can help to control the heat and give that plant the best chance to really get, since you just planted it, you want it to really root and really get established before you do anything. But
So,
yeah, the compost and a lot of mulch.
So I'm hoping you plant it in the right place, because if you plant it in a hot, sunny spot, you're in trouble. If you plant it in a place where it's some kind of shade from the tree, a little more protection. When I was in Colorado, I used to plant it next to the house. Use the house, I would build a little greenhouse around it, so it would like that. But the house would protect it from the majority of the sun. It would have a little top on it, and that's what you can do. You just put a top on it, and the plant will love it. Yeah, I saw that spilling the beans. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now there is one more question, and we've only got a couple of minutes left. So I had to put a lot I had to pull a lot of Bermuda grass around, or basically away from the twilight tea rose. How does that impact rose health?
First of all, I don't know why you pulled the Bermuda grass around. I don't know what your environment is like, but personally, I would have left it, just cut it back. Anything growing around it would help the soil not to dry out. You know what I mean? It would have been very good. So by pulling it, you're exposed to the soil there. So your only choice now is to mulch like crazy. I would let the Bermuda grass grow, because it will help to balance out the soil heat and the water and all that kind of stuff, and will protect it from, I don't know what kind of environment you have where you live at. But if you, since you already did it, learn how to do the mulch.
Could it choke out the roses? Like, because grass, it grows, their roots are what is it, rhizo something? They move underground.
It's not if you're not feeding it properly. Yeah, it would combat. It was the two fight it over for nutrition. But if you have plenty of nutrition to go around, it's not really a problem. So if you have your compost that's rich in nutrition, if you're doing a good fertilization program where you know how to feed it, but I would say there's a reason why the Bermuda grass is growing there. You're missing some trace minerals as indicator.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing probably magnesium, copper, and they guess what they pull up?
Magnesium and copper. So a lot of people, they put a circle around like the base
Yeah.
of the root zone,
Yeah.
a couple of feet back. So
Yeah.
don't let the Bermuda grass go past that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of
I let them do
compost.
it. I let them go there. I just prune them back, keep them nice and clean. I found out they don't dry as fast because if you take them away, you got to replace it with your mulch, and your mulch doesn't.
Yeah.
It dries out too. But the plant will hold the moisture down, especially when it rains, stuff like that. It'll hold the moisture, and the roses will love it. Your fruit trees will love it too. Personally, I would substitute something else in the Bermuda grass. There's lots of things you could do with native grass. You can plant herbs. Oregano does really good as a ground cover. You want a living ground cover, so it doesn't have to be a Bermuda grass. It could be anything you like, and it will benefit the roses. The only thing I wouldn't do is plant garlic under the roses, which I did, because then the roses smell like garlic.
Yeah,
right.
But you want the pretty smell.
I would have a problem with planting oregano or any other herbs, because then your roses will smell like that. If you like it, if you like the way your roses smell like oregano or lavender, yeah, that works really good. I would try a native ground cover. There's lots of really beautiful native ground cover, better than the Bermuda grass.
All right, guys. Well, we're just over our hour, so we're going to be done for this week.
I did it. Yay!
You yapped for an hour, Andy, which is normal,
Yeah. So we have 3 more shows coming up. Natural foliar spraying. We're going to be talking about the natural lawn care and how to reduce water. And then we're going to go on. And then we're going on a journey. I'm going to take you how I use magnetism in water, and I'm going to teach you all about how I do the OLL system. There's a whole bunch more stuff. I use wheat flour. I use rice flour and rice flour. I'll tell you what's all that about. Because when it rained, I did some videos for that. So we have a lot of stuff coming up. Remember, go to my website, invisiblegardener.com. Sign up for the newsletter. When you get the news, click on I want my ebook, and you'll get a free ebook.
Yeah. And so tomorrow on the channel, we've got the ladies from Chiropractic are Sexy coming on tomorrow. Sunday, Dr. Paula Ruffin's back on for her Sunday Night Live. Monday, we've got a gentleman coming on specifically, partially for, we were talking in the past few shows about dehumidification for indoor growing, and the system, the heating system that does the dehumidification. And he's going to bring us some of the science behind that and some other stuff. So you're going to want to check that on Monday on the Soil Matters. But other than that, guys,
by the way, I'm so sexy. I'm so sexy.
You're too sexy for that hat, Andy.
How's that song go, right? I'm so sexy, right? I forget the rest of it. So you guys,
too sexy for your clothes. Yeah.
I'm so sexy for myself, right?
Peace out, everybody.
Bye.